Hey everyone, welcome to Lady Overlander Radio. Tonight we're speaking with Genevieve Valk from SeaSucker. Stay tuned. Grab your favorite drink, whether it's a coffee, cocktail, or tea, and get ready. It's Ladies' Night on Lady Overlander Radio. The Lady Overlander Radio podcast is sponsored by Frontrunner Outfitters, Midland Radio, Go Treads, Sport Keg, CB Adventure Supply, Adventure Trail Outfitters, Overland Spices, and the More Expo. Hey girl, hey.
Hey girl, hey. What's up?
Nothing much. Just hanging out in Arizona for another few days and then heading north to Utah.
Oh, lucky there.
Yeah.
I'm hanging out in my dining room. Are you jealous?
I am. I'm very jealous. I love that stuff on the back wall there.
I've had that forever.
Work or I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah. So how's your week been?
Crazy in the transportation world. That's why I don't like holidays, because I work in transportation as a big girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little crazy.
How was it coming back after Expo West?
Crazy. I'm still trying to get caught up on sleep. I just want to sleep. That's it.
Yeah.
I just want to sleep.
And Jen, you were at Expo West, correct?
Yes, we were. We just got back home yesterday afternoon, and I am feeling it. I would love just to sleep in past 8 a.m. would just be beautiful in my life right now.
So you're out there 2 weeks.
Yeah, we left. We've been on the road. We were on the road for about 3 weeks. We took about a week to get out there so we could stop along the way, and we took about another week to get back.
Wow.
I bet that was a fun week, though.
Yes, it was. It was amazing. We got to camp out in Alabama, which I've never camped out in Alabama before. The horseflies didn't carry us away, which was great. Which is the only thing I was worried about. So we didn't get carried away by the horseflies in Alabama. We flew through Texas real fast, but then we got to go out to Albuquerque and then, of course, Flagstaff. And the way back, we got to do a little Utah. We did Page and a little bit of Utah, and then we got to do the Georgia Traverse, which was amazing. And we're from Florida, and we'd never done it before. It's right in our backyard, and it's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, we just had John Berkmeyer, who created the Florida Adventure Trail on last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you can do the Florida Adventure Trail, the Georgia Adventure Trail, and part of an Alabama Adventure Trail or something, and come back to the Florida one. There's this big loop you can do.
Oh,
and I
so
think
cool.
part of it goes on the Georgia Traverse as well.
See, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'd love to do that big loop.
Yeah, me too. I was telling my husband that because we've only done little legs of the fat, we've never done the full thing. And I was like, we need to just take, I know some people say you can do it if you're hustling in 5 days. I was like, I want to take week and a half, 2 weeks, spend our time and just do the whole thing, because we've probably gone on little weekend trips and done 4 or 5 little legs of it. We haven't gone all the way up north in the Panhandle or up by Tallahassee yet. And all of the videos I see from those guys, they're just amazing. And it's crazy because this is our backyard. We're Floridians and we haven't explored all of it yet. So that is before the end of this year. We're absolutely gonna taking 2 weeks totally off, and we're gonna do the fat trail.
Awesome.
Fingers crossed.
I'm a bit jealous. Yeah.
Very cool.
We talked about that last week with John.
Yeah.
Maybe doing a ladies thing, a camp out or something, and get something like that going next year or something.
Oh, you let me know. I'll be there in an instant.
You'll be there. We'll definitely be at Save next year, right, Misty?
Yeah. So it'll probably be before or after Save Expo, and one of the places I want to camp is part of the FAT at the dang it, what was it called? I just talked about it last week, and I camped there. Oh, Shired Island.
That's it.
Oh, I've heard really cool things about that. The only thing I heard that it's beautiful and that it's super scenic and you kind of just feel like away from it all. The only thing I've heard, and maybe I heard this from John and the sulfur water is a bit intense, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's the only negative thing I've ever heard about it.
Yep, we talked about that. For sure. For sure. Lots of
Yes.
sulfur.
Quite intense. The bathrooms are clean, but the water is just. I would take my own. I have my own little shower set up. I would take my own shower. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Strong sulfur.
Mhm.
Listen, my grandmother still has sulfur water at her house. No.
Things you take for granted, man. Things you take for granted.
I can't. I'm out.
Yeah. I can't do it. I did not shower while I was there.
Oh, Lord. Hey, old man, old truck. What's up?
Hey. We ran into him at Expo West.
You
That was really
did.
awesome.
He came
Very
right
cool.
up to us. And we're like, caught us by surprise. Like,
Yeah.
my gosh, he's from
We're gonna do a
South
lot.
Carolina and he's all the way over here in Arizona. Drove the whole way.
Yeah, that's far.
Mhm.
Like Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of stamina, but honestly, like the only part that is a little boring is Texas. I feel like you drive through Texas for like a week.
Mhm.
My husband's like, we've been here like less than a day, and I'm like, it feels like we've been here a whole week. All of these windmills, get me to some like red rocks, get me to some dust, get me to something. That's my only complaint about the drive. No offense to all
Drive,
the Texans out
go
there.
through Kansas or Oklahoma on the west side. And the
Yes.
wind.
We went up to Oklahoma, and it was beautiful. We did part of the hat on there.
Cool.
So, we did the entire state of Oklahoma. We did about 90% gravel roads. So
That's awesome.
it was really, really neat. And Oklahoma's very pretty. I was pleasantly surprised.
Did your rig get dirty during that trip, Misty? I'm just curious.
A little. I actually just washed it yesterday, but yes, it was nasty.
Did you spray the inside?
I picked up Arla from the. Shh. I didn't get to the inside. Picked up Arla at the airport. She's like, "What the hell happened to your car?" Yeah.
Open the door. I'm like, what the hell's going on in here?
It's like Pigpen. A cloud of dust comes rolling out.
For real.
Oklahoma's
like,
dusty.
Girl, what? Whew, yeah. Somebody had
Arla's pretty OCD about clean vehicles. Like, she goes nutting, she does all these things, but she immediately cleans afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
See,
yeah, I like my girl to sparkle. I like her to be really shiny and pretty.
Yes,
So
I'm bad about that.
Playing, that's it.
My husband is really good about it, but I'm terrible about that. Like especially like when you're on the back end of your trip and the end is near, you're like, I'm about to be so close to being home. Like we rolled up and we obviously we've been on the road for 3 weeks. We roll up to the office to drop a bunch of the show stuff off that we had. And like people try to start opening doors. I'm like, no, don't. And like everything's toppling out of the Gladiator all over the place. The bags, like beef jerky wrappers, like pop cans, like all of it just like on display for everybody. And everyone was like, not surprised from you, Jen, but Jan, like what's going on here? Like my husband, they were looking at him like, what are you doing, man? You're
like,
supposed
on
to
her
keep
side
together.
Yeah. I feel his pain. I've got 3 kids, so whenever we open our car doors, it looks like Sanford and Sons falling out. Like,
yes.
I told you guys to throw it away at the last gas station.
Yes. I will say, I didn't realize. So we just started overlanding because of SeaSucker camp within the last year. And I didn't realize that I would have favorite gas stations in the way that I do now that we are on the road so much and we're traveling like these great distances. And I have to say, Love's gas stations are now like on top for me. I never knew that I would feel so emotionally connected to a gas station, but I will tell you, like, he would be like, you have to go to the bathroom. I was like, I really have to go, but I've done the research and there is a Love's 45 minutes away. I'm holding it. We're getting to Love's because I want my honeydew melon cup and I want the special, like, yeah, exactly. Old man, Love's is it. Like, this is the move. You want your cheese cup. They have the like special cookies that don't feel like they came out of a package. I'm sure they did, but it feels like they didn't. Oh, they're always clean. I am obsessed with Love's gas stations.
Have you stopped at a Buc-ee's yet?
Okay, we stopped at one Buc-ee's when we went out to SEMA in November for the big auto show, and we came back and we did again because we're crazy. We're like, okay, let's make our like a few day trip last 2 weeks because we wanted to do Moab and all these other things. On our way back, it was our last day. We were driving home through Georgia somewhere, and there was a Buc-ee's, and I had never been. And my husband was like, we have to go. I was like, what's so special about it? And he's like, it's as if a Walmart and like a furniture store and a gas station like had a baby.
But the baby was big and massive.
Oh, yeah, and has really good jerky. Oh no.
And
Jen, you froze.
And the barbecue brisket sandwiches.
Oh yes, they're so good.
And the barbecue cashews.
And anything barbecue.
And the slushies. The amount of slushies they have on tap, my Lord.
They are good. But I do agree. I like Love's, especially when we were full-time RVing, because number one, you can camp at a lot of them. You can stay overnight. And number two, a lot of them have showers and stuff. So that was pretty nice.
Love's has really nice showers as well. And their bathroom's really great. Buc-ee's is like its own little stall, like very fancy. She dropped off. We'll be back in a minute. Technical difficulties, people, get over it.
Yeah, she's been having a few technical difficulties. So we're going to just chat until she can make it back on.
I'm a big Buc-ee's fan, and they are finally building one up in Springfield, which is like 2 hours from me, Springfield, Missouri. So I'm a little excited about that. I'll be taking field trips there. I'll be leading women's only trips to Buc-ee's when it opens.
That sounds like a plan.
Ladies only.
Ladies only trips to Buc-ee's.
To Buc-ee's in Springfield, Missouri.
I think that's a great plan, Arla.
Field trips. You're going to have to get your parents to sign the waiver.
Yep. No minors.
No minors. No, please. God, please, no.
No. So what do you think of Expo West overall? Like now that you've been removed for about a week and a half or so, was it overwhelming? Was it, what do you think?
What did I think of Expo West? I thought, yes, overwhelming for sure. Really awesome. I feel like I didn't see hardly any of it, even though we walked around that thing. It felt like 100 times. My feet and ankles were mad. Yes. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it was pretty great. Lots of stuff there. I just wanted to spend all my monies there, even though I really don't need anything per se. But there's always something that's new that you're like, wait, what is that?
That is really cool. Yeah.
I might need that. And I'm like, no, I don't. I can't haul that back on the plane. You don't need that, Arla. You think you do, but you don't need it.
And you have no way to get it back without paying.
I mean, I could have shipped it, but jeez. Or you could have shipped it for me.
Yeah, I could have shipped it for you.
But no.
Friend. Yeah.
No.
But I was the friend that said you don't need that.
No. I was really only worried about the pineapple whip with the strawberry.
Pineapple Dole Whip. Did you have one of those, Jen?
No, I did not. We were so busy that I never got to like leave the booth to go get food. So every time someone came back, the food I received was a really good breakfast burrito that we had almost every morning. I don't know who was making them, but they were fantastic. And like hot dogs for lunch. My husband was like, here's lunch. And I was like, okay, I will accept this food gratefully. But was this my first choice? Probably not, but I will gladly accept this hot dog, and I appreciate you very much, because any other option was of saying anything else is probably not the move.
No.
But so that's as far as we got in the food department, because West was nuts, and it was our first time there. And I think when it's your first time at a show like that too, and a lot of people hadn't heard of SeaSucker, the brand, like people wanted to spend time in the booth and like really wanted to see everything, which is amazing. But it meant that we were pretty busy the whole time, which is great and exactly what you want. But I didn't get to adventure as much as I would have liked.
Well, we're going to talk about SeaSucker in just a minute, but I wanted to get your take on the hail at Expo West. What'd you think of that?
Oh, I got to
Friday hail.
Oh my gosh. So we're Floridians. So like hail is very rare for us. Like it happens, but like fairly rare. And hail, when it's like, I don't know what the temperature was, but it felt like it was in the negatives, but I'm sure it was like 60, and I'm being a Floridian and being a baby about it. But it was so cold, super cold. Luckily we brought like full winter gear, because like there was a moment right before I was like, this takes up so much space. Do we bring it or not? And I am so glad we did, because when it hailed and we had like a single little tent, it's like 10 feet by 10 feet. We're working on installing awnings and other things on our rig, but we don't have them yet. So we had this 10 by 10 booth, and like if you were right in the middle, you weren't getting sprayed with water, but it was us and like 6 other folks that were like in the nearby area that we were like, come like gather under our tent for shelter, and like we can all generally be warm. And luckily I had a pack of like cookies from the road trip that was like under the table, and I like pulled out the cookies. We're all just like sharing a cookie, completely drenched. But somebody across the way started bringing hot coffee like through the hailstorm to bring us hot coffee. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is why I love Overland West. If I was at any other show, this would not be the move. Like no one would be helping each other. Like how beautiful is this? Like sharing cookies, sharing coffee, like with the hail. But we were cold. We were cold all the way through the night. I got to tell you, we were silly.
It was like 11 o'clock Friday night that I finally felt like I was getting warm. Like once we got back to the Airbnb, like we had to go to an after party thing, and we got back, and I just jumped underneath the comforter, and I just laid there and thought, oh my God, I am just chilled to the bone right now. The temperature just dropped a lot. Ask Misty what she was wearing on Friday.
Misty, what were you wearing on Friday?
I was wearing sandals.
She was wearing denim capris and her tacos.
Yeah.
And her t-shirt, her Lady Overlander Radio t-shirt. She did have her sweatshirt with her, but she got really cold. So we ended up, once the weather cleared a little bit, then we made a run back so she could change, because she was freezing.
Yes. And I'm a native Floridian as well. And I used to go to school in winter in shorts and like a tank top, and it would be cold in the morning, but I knew it was warm during the day, so I didn't really care. But yeah, that was really, really, really freaking cold. And then the heat came on the next day.
Yes.
I swear my scalp is still burnt in there. I swear it is.
Yeah.
And then it peeled, and I looked like I had dandruff for like 3 days. Like big chunks of funk right there. I was doing this. It was awful.
We don't need to go there.
Falling down. It's real life issues, people. Get over it. Let's go.
Anyway, let's move on to SeaSucker. Let's talk about that, Jen. So you are the president and part owner of SeaSucker.
Yes,
and tell me a little bit about the background of the company, how it got started, and how you assumed that role.
Yeah, so it's a family-owned business, and it remains family-owned today, which is awesome. And my parents started it about 17, 18 years ago. And 17, 18 years ago, they started it actually in the marine industry. So we were making vacuum-mounted accessories for boats, so like vacuum-mounted rod holders and cup holders. And my dad, he loves to make businesses out of his hobbies and his passions. So he was on the boat all the time. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to create something that lets me just be on the boat all of the time. And then about 10 years ago, he started riding his bike again. And he was like, you know, this vacuum mounted thing that is holding these rod holders and cup holders, like I bet I could make a bike rack for the back of my pickup truck. And so then all of a sudden he released a line of bike racks. And then a few years after that, we kind of transitioned not just from like bike racks, but into like crossbar systems and other things for vehicles that were all vacuum mounted. And literally just within the last year, because through cycling, we kind of made it to automotive. And then the automotive guys were like, oh, you have to get in on this off-road overlanding game. It's huge and your product is perfect for it. And actually some of your marine products, if you did them in black instead of white, they would already work in this new context. And we're like, oh, interesting. So we kind of dipped our toe in the water literally just last December. And it has been the warmest welcome of any of the industries that we've moved into. And we're just having an absolute blast because, you know, like shame on us that we have to go, you know, buy a company Gladiator and super up and do all of that. Darn it.
I know, it's awful.
Oh, just awful. And we get to go, you know, just adventure all around the country and meet all these awesome people. And so it has just been incredible, but just explosive. You know, like traditionally we do about 50% of our sales go to the marine line, 50% of our sales go to the rack line. And even within just the past month, we're starting to see like it's almost becoming an even split across 3 lines that quickly, which we just never would have anticipated. But it's great. And we're super happy that we kind of found a niche and found folks that were like, no, I would love to find a solution that doesn't require me drilling holes or putting permanent brackets on my rig, or I want to be able to set up camp the way I want to set up camp. And it might be different every time. Or honestly, we've heard a lot of folks that like, in order to make kind of overlanding and off-roading a little bit more accessible, like being able to take a daily driver and within, you know, a few minutes, make it into something that can go overlanding and go off-road without having to fully commit.
Uh-oh.
Fully commit. That's where we're at.
Yep. That's all we have to say about that. Thank you.
Oh, Jen, there she is. Oh, she's back. Guess who's back?
I have no idea what's going on, folks. I am so sorry about that. I promise I don't have internet issues typically.
Listen, the internet is a strange thing. I'm literally sitting right next to my Starlink and the router and praying that I have a good signal out here. So I hear you.
It just knows. It knows that it's like, oh, you know what? You just did 10 Zoom calls today with no issue, but you're going to get on and record a podcast with Lady Overlander Radio. Oh, I'm going to humble you real quick. The Spectrum router gods are like, not today, sister.
Like the guys in the background going, pause. Pause.
Exactly.
I think your internet's just tired after all those Zoom calls today.
Yeah, apparently.
I'm not used to you being back. What is happening?
Yeah,
so here's a question.
Go ahead.
So as far as like on the overland side, the kitchen and all that stuff that you have, like the sink and the trash holder and all that stuff, what kind of solutions have you seen for packing it down as far as putting it in a case, or are y'all looking into doing something like that?
Oh yes. So again, it shows that we just started in December because we didn't realize that everybody loves a carrying case.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody loves a carrying case. We were at West and everyone's like, what does the case look like? And we're like, oh, darn it. Well, luckily we
said there was a case. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, shoot. I was like, oh, no. So we did actually link up with some folks that do that at Overland West. So stay tuned. Because we're like, you can just throw it in the back. And it's like, no. In the overlanding community, you better have a case. It better be cute. It better be easy to open.
Functional.
The whole 9 yards. So
it's all about being organized more than anything.
Yeah, organization.
and there will be an octopus on it. Mark my words, there's going to be a big old octopus and a very cute case if I have anything
Nice.
to say
I
about
like
it.
that.
I love it.
I like that. Yeah, it's about, space. You really have to constantly rework your rig and what space you have to work with and what you're going to use that trip and whatnot. So I was curious of what you guys were maybe looking into.
Oh, yes. And we found somebody else that does everything in the US. So the big thing for us too is we're fully American made. So we manufacture everything ourselves. So sometimes it's tough for us because like we have to find the right people here that we want to work with too, because we don't do textiles. Like that's not really what we manufacture. But we found a few folks that all American made, some family owned businesses too, that we're going to kind of work together to create some cool cases that will also have a little red, white, and blue flag on them too, just like our products,
Yes.
which is also important to us. But carrying cases are coming soon, and they're coming in hot. Our coming in hot. Our R&D team, the engineers, tomorrow. It is one of the line items on our R&D meeting for our post West lineup.
Awesome.
Very, very cool. So I met you at the Save Expo. Was that your first expo?
It was our first overland expo, like overlanding styled expo. So like we do a lot within automotive and like car and that sort of thing. But it was our first overland specific expo. And y'all met us and we were totally new to it. And you guys kind of took us in and were very nice to us. And because we were like, so like, what's the deal here? Like, what are we doing? And we didn't bring any inventory to sell. And everyone shows up and is like, but I want to take it with me now.
Yes.
I want to use it now. And we were like, we can ship it to you. And they're like, what good does that do me? I need my trash holder and I would like to use it this evening. And I'm like, whoa. So it was
right now. Yeah.
I want it right now. I was like, okay, so this is good to get out of our system. Because the Save Expo is amazing. And it was great first entryway with everyone kind of being very nice to us and showing us the way so that we could be ready for a show like West, where we had to bring all of the inventory. But next Save Expo, for those who saw us at the last Save Expo, I promise the SeaSucker team will be inventoried out for the next Save Expo, because that was our first one. It was also fun. We did get rained out a little bit there too, didn't we? If I recall,
The wind, right?
Girl, do you remember your 10x10 going over onto the Tacoma?
Oh, oh my gosh. Okay, so this was nightmare moment. I gotta tell you, like, Arla, like nightmare moment. If you can imagine of nightmare moments at a show. So like we weren't expecting it to be so like windy. Like there was a big storm blowing through, super windy. We had put all like the stakes in the ground and like normally we're good. Like all the stakes are in here. Like we're set. We're good to go. It starts ripping. Our 10x10 tent flies across the aisle like within a second. And I'm sitting there into a bunch of beautiful rigs, like beautiful, brand new. Oh, the front runner was all beautiful. Like
Samir.
Oh, just like just horrible. So I'm like, oh my gosh, luckily nobody got hurt and the rigs didn't get scratched up. But I was like, of course, new kids on the block don't put their tent in properly. And so then everyone comes over and is like, okay, you guys are new here. Let me show you a little bit about what we're about. And
handbag, tie it to your car.
And this is how you're going to tie it to our tent, which again shows how warm and loving the Overland community is. Because if we were at like an automotive event or like a marine event, everyone would have been like, you're done. We're not even going to look at you the rest of the show. But Overland event, everyone was like, oh, you're stupid? Don't worry. We'll teach you how to be smart. Give us a second. Like, okay.
Everybody's been there. I mean, it's a learning curve like anything else. I mean, honestly.
We were standing there talking to people and under our awning, and I just happened to look over and watched it fly, and both Joe and I were like, oh my God. And it went the little 10x10 went right on either side of the Tacoma and didn't scratch anything, but it went like right on top of it. Like, oh my God.
It was the stuff of nightmares. I mean, I heard that down the way, somebody else's tent came undone and like a person got like trapped, but apparently like nobody noticed for a little bit that this person was trapped.
What?
And so they end up removing the tent and the person just kind of is like, doesn't really say anything, keeps walking. And everyone was like, are you okay? Like, do you need medical attention? Like you were trapped under a tent for like minutes of time and nobody knew. And they just went about their day and nobody saw them again. So hopefully they're okay. But at least we weren't that tent.
Oh, thank goodness.
Tracy wants to know if you were at More Expo in Springfield.
We were. I wasn't personally, but one of my sales team who actually lives out in Kansas City went off to More, and he had a fabulous time.
You guys were
fabulous.
outdoors.
I was like, I got to go next year. He was telling me about it, and I was like, oh, so next year I have to go to More too, because all of these
bigger and bigger every year. Every year. It was his 4th year, and it's just amazing how much has changed. Really.
It's so much fun. And like, this is what's cool about Overland. Cause like, again, we're in 3 different industries. So we do a lot of shows. Like we do probably over 30 shows a year.
Wow.
And so we do a ton of them, but I got to say, like, it's so much fun to do these shows where it's so social. And like, that's like, we're not used to the like hanging out after the show and like everyone's cooking meals and sharing food and beer and just like sharing stories, and like that whole aspect of Overland shows is incredible. And it's so cool, especially being new, and there's so many people who are willing to show you things and teach you things, and not in an overly aggressive way either, which is really nice. There's not in a super holier than thou way, which is really nice too.
I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, when you're at these expos, you really just want to actually sit down and just chill for a little bit, have some conversation and some food and a drink, and just try to relax, because let's be honest, they're a lot of work, but they're also a lot of fun. So it's rewarding. But you're exhausted.
Yes.
Being on your feet all day long, for 12 hours out there.
Yes, especially when some of these shows, they start at like 8 a.m., which is also new for us. So like our first like Friday morning right before the hailstorm, we were a little bit late in setting up our booth the day before. Someone who's supposed to be there to help the booth missed the flight, et cetera, et cetera. And so we ended up running about 4 hours of errands unanticipated on Thursday. So we got done super late setting up the booth. We wake up on Friday. There's still a few little things in the booth we had to do. Everyone was so chill and so laid back. I started checking out customers in my pajamas. Like I was not dressed because we were staying in the booth. Like we were camping out in the booth, and people started showing up, and I was still in my pajamas. My husband looks at me, he goes, are like you still in your like long johns right now? Like you should get dressed. I was like,
overlanding, man.
I was like, I know I should get dressed, but people started showing up and asking about SeaSucker. And so I like started, I made my first sale of the day in my pajamas, not fully, nowhere close to actually being dressed, in long johns, sweatshirt. It was a whole to do. My husband looked at me like, you are not like you are the love of my life. He was like, wow.
But
this is new from you.
You are comfort is key. Special girl. Yeah.
Comfort is key.
How long have you guys been married?
We actually just got married in December. So we're very fresh. He joined the company last year in like August, and then we got married in December.
Oh, wow.
And then we've been on the road a ton in the interim. So if you ever want to test the first year of marriage to make sure like it's good, spend like 3 weeks at a time, just you and your husband in a car and overlanding. And I'm telling you, I'm like, oh, we'll be married for the next 60 years. If we can do this and like stand each other for, nonstop 3 weeks at a time, no breaks while working and very stressful, like, oh, next 50, 60 years, oh, we got this.
Piece of cake, man. Piece of cake.
It also tests the first 18 to 19 years of your marriage as well. So, yeah. No, but working together and traveling together and being married and being newlyweds, that's got to be a lot sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, we are, and again, this is one of the things, because SeaSucker is our whole life. It's super important for our nuclear family and like my whole family, right? Like everything, like my dad, he jokes, but he's not really joking. He's like, I don't have a retirement. Like, I've invested everything into SeaSucker, and then he'll be like, good luck, like keep, and kind of just give me, no pressure, Jen. But I mean, so there is a little bit of pressure for that. But I'll tell you, like, and I'm sure you guys know this too, but like every marriage, every family relationship is different, and there's no good or bad. I will say that being able to work full time and travel full time with your spouse is like, I think it's really special and really unique, and I wouldn't give it up for the world, because we have such shared goals and shared purpose. Doesn't mean there's not like bad, right? Like, of course, there are moments where he's like, I'd love to talk to my wife right now and not my boss. Like, sure, those, but honestly, I wouldn't give any of it up, because we are just so in love with this company, and especially this new industry that we're in, and kind of growing it. And there's something so special to being able to share that with a spouse, that I love. And I love the relationship he has with my parents because of it. And even some of my siblings that occasionally come in and work at the company at various intervals. And it's something really special. Not to say it's all good. Like, I don't ever want to paint it like, it's all rainbows and unicorns over here and
butterflies.
But it really is something special when you have something that you love so much, and you can share and to grow something. Because we really feel in this new universe with this camp line that we've started, we're really taking something from scratch and getting to see it grow, which is cool.
That's fantastic. So you guys have a marine line, a biking line, and a camping line now.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm sure those things kind of cross over and intersect, because
sure.
people that like outdoor activities most of the time, like overall. So that's pretty neat that they can kind of complement each other.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, when we first got started in the camp line, a lot of our camp line items came from marine, right? So like all of our cup holders and our like trash bag holders and all of that really came from the marine side. And obviously racks in general, whether it's for bikes or crossbars, are a big deal in the overlanding space and in the off-road space too. But really some of the products that we've seen kick off the most are like super specialized items for Camp 2, which is great. So then you have your own, like you have some things that are very special and significant for just one line. And then you also get this crossover, like the kitchen station that we have is obviously fairly specific for camp, and our Rotopax mounts and our recovery mounts for Max Tracks and those sorts of things. But there's a lot of crossover, and mostly like, we get to have a lot of fun, whether it's overlanding or like we're in Florida. So like red snapper season is starting in 2 weeks. So we get to be on the boat, so it's a lot of fun there. Sometimes, for me, I love it all. So I sometimes have to focus on one or the other, because I'll get all cross-wired if I'm like, oh, but I want to be on the boat, but I also want to be out on the trails, and I want to do like, so there's a little bit of that sometimes I I get a little guilty of, is probably the only problem with having so many different lines is you can get a little distracted and cross-eyed a little bit, but we do at SeaSucker, got to say, have a fantastic team. And a lot of those folks also kind of specialize, because you have guys that fish and you have guys that are big, either Jeep guys. Like, it's funny, like it's SeaSucker parking lot for years. We've always everyone's kind of made fun of our parking lot because it's like all Jeeps. And then there's like a couple, like there was like one or two like souped up BMWs from like the customer service sales side. And then one of our engineers is super into like vintage, like Range Rovers, because he loves overlanding too. So he does that whole shtick. And so if you look in, it's like Team Jeep, and then there's like a little bit of souped up BMW fun, like I want to go real fast. And then there's like the vintage lot of all the Range Rovers, because everyone just loves doing that stuff. So we're lucky because we do have a lot of folks that enjoy one line in particular and kind of keep us sane and keep us pointed too.
Nice.
That is great. And I was going to say that might get a little bit overwhelming, just having, as for you, especially having all of these different things coming at you and trying to stay relevant in all of these different industries. And I could see how that could be like, whoa.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, that's why, like, for me, especially when I first started, because when I took over the company I started in 2018, I took over in 2019. But prior to this, like I wasn't in like for-profit business. I was an intelligence analyst in DC living a completely different life, doing Russia in the Middle East policy. I had a team underneath me and like I loved running teams, but it was something for me to really learn to specialize and to not like to be able to say, okay, we can have too much of a good thing, and to be able to also rely on the team that I had and build a really strong team that was specialized. Because I think sometimes you think you want everybody to be perfectly well-rounded. Like, you're like, I want the most well-rounded person here and the most well-rounded person here. And I got to tell you, I love the SeaSucker team because almost nobody's well-rounded. Everyone is hyper-specialized, has a super like jam-packed skill in one area. And because we're not super hierarchical or structured, we're really team-oriented, that everyone kind of leans in together and kind of produces things with taking from this person, taking from this person, taking from this person, which was a little bit different from my last job, where you were really looking for the all-arounder. You wanted someone who was all the way around, but at SeaSucker, I gotta say, like, sometimes we call ourselves the island of misfit toys, because like everyone's a little bit, there's a little screw loose everywhere all the way around, including myself, including our family. But having people that have that one job, that one special skill, is really awesome. And I feel like that connects well to overlanding too. Now that I've been part of more of it, it's kind of how these people who take larger trips with larger groups, everyone's got to have like that niche that kind of brings value to a trip. And I love that. I love that part of overlanding. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, I agree. And what I like about overlanding as well is we are very gear and gadget oriented, even though you really don't need to be to truly overland. But you see a vehicle running down the road and you're like, oh yeah, that's an overlanding rig, because it looks like an overlanding rig, right? Meanwhile, so-and-so is riding down the road with their car, their Subaru or whatever, and they've got a really kick-ass bed made up in the back and everything else in a fridge. And are they not overlanding?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's nice because there are so many different options out there. There's so many different products, and everybody's coming up with new products and collaborating with other companies like you guys are getting ready to do and working together. And it's just really, really neat to see where the industry's going and all of the different options that are available. It's a little overwhelming sometimes, but as a consumer, but it's really neat as well. And I really liked your product when I met you at Save Expo, and we actually ended up, the camp kitchen you sent. We actually ended up doing that as a giveaway at our Ladies Overland Lounge.
Oh, cool.
Get more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and we told them to go out and see the booth because we knew you guys were there.
Yeah.
But it were really, it's a nice setup. Like we said, the only thing was, collapsing that down and having somewhere to store that, is a little,
Which we've already talked about.
yeah.
Oh, and it's
So I
in,
already have a solution for that. So,
oh, it's in the works. Don't you worry. That is in the works.
It's top secret. She
Yes.
worked in intelligence.
It's not top secret.
I was going to say I knew she worked in intelligence because we had a whole conversation about that.
I bet.
DC. However, I didn't tell you because I thought it was classified. Sorry.
I was an open source intel. You can Google me and everything. I promise. I promise. But again, why I love overlanding shows is like, in what universe did I think I was like just sharing a beer, and then I got to meet your son too, and he is super into World War II and like into all of the things.
Very.
It is so cool to, and then so he was like, wait, you worked on Russia stuff? Let me tell you all of this Russia stuff from World War II.
Yeah.
I was like, I know the stuff from like 2015 stuff, but you knowing things from World War II era, like it was so cool to be able to even just like share that. And I mean, I don't know. Again, it's why I love this whole industry. It's just being able to sit and talk to people, and people just being open and, being able to have a good time and talk about literally anything. It's like, I didn't know I'd be talking about like Russian MiGs, like after like selling like trash can holders, all like, how cool is that? Like, I don't know. I just thought that was the best.
Very cool.
Yeah. He loves World War II. Loves it.
Very cool.
I swear. Like I would venture to say that he is nearly an expert on World War II at this point. Like,
oh, for sure.
Blows my mind. And he quizzes us all the time. And I said, son, you don't quiz me because I don't know the answer. I already tell you I don't know the answer.
No.
He loves it. And I love that he loves it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And that's, again, like, it's one of the cool things too about the overlanding community is it is so collaborative. Like, because again, we're in a lot of other spaces. So the idea of us being new to a show, like we showed up to West, we were brand new players on the scene, and having other large companies approach us and being like, let's collaborate. Like, let's immediately get something going because you bring something special and we are going to bring something special. And together we're going to solve something for our customers together in a collaborative way. Was really fun for us. Cause I got to tell you, like, that's not typical in automotive. It's not very typical in marine. Even probably a little bit more collaborative than automotive. So like that was so cool. And I'm all jazzed up and all geeked out on all of these cool companies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, oh goodness gracious, what are we going to get into next? Cause I also want all of these things for my own rig. And now you're going to give my R&D team that to play with. The R&D team is salivating, man. They're salivating over some of the stuff we got sent post-West.
Make this work.
Tell you.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do think that the overlanding community overall is very collaborative, very open for the most part. And, people are willing to, most of the time, people are willing to teach the newest person whatever they know. We are a little, guarded on our campsites sometimes. Yes. But if we love you and trust you, we will give you a good campsite.
That's so funny. Jumping back to the more expo, Bath Road is saying that he thinks it was over 7,400 attendees there.
Yeah, I think that's around the number that Chris released today.
Yeah, so
over 7,400.
Really cool. What other expos might you guys go to this year that's overland? Are you going to go to Pacific Northwest or?
We're not going to Pacific Northwest, but we are going to Mountain West, and we're going to East. Mm-hmm. And then we'll start back up next year. And I was telling Misty before we started recording, I really want to go to Pacific Northwest. Like that is bucket list trip for us. So we just have to figure out, like, because us driving all the way out there from Florida is a lot. I think it would be worth it, and it would be so much fun, and we would just have a blast. I just got to make sure it makes sense. So 2024, I'm hoping for Pacific Northwest that we can make that happen, and that makes sense.
Nice.
But,
You should also look at the Teton Overland show also.
oh, really? Okay.
Well,
I always
that's
have
in
my notebook.
September this year, but yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Any other recommendations? Again, we're new in this space. And so we'll take all the recommendations you have. Like, we love Save, although it was a bit of a smaller show. It was amazing. And one of the most well-run expos.
I bet it's bigger this next year. Guaranteed.
It's grown every year.
Yeah.
I think this was the third year, and it's grown substantially every year. I think Expo West just released, they had over 30,000 attendees.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like it.
Yes, I believe that. I believe that all day. I believe that.
Like, did none of these people work on Friday? I was like, what?
No. We pulled up and it was already packed, 8 o'clock. And I'm like, don't these people have jobs? Hashtag on vacation to be out at West.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was really neat. But we love Alyssa at the Save Expo, and we love Chris at the More Expo.
He's
and
awesome.
the Teton Overland show, we're going to be doing a Ladies Overland Lounge there.
Oh,
That's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah. So we'll have some giveaways and things like that. And it'll be a lot of fun. That's in September, mid-September.
Oh,
15th
awesome.
through the 17th?
Yeah.
That's all right. Mm-hmm.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Tell us real quick about your overlanding rig.
Yes.
Oh, so we have a Gladiator, Rubicon Gladiator. It's on 40s with a 6.5-inch lift because we love to get looks and we love to be a little flashy.
I'm sweating right now.
It's a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, it's a diesel. And we have an auxiliary tank in the back.
Mm-hmm.
We have a smart top, which is great, and we love. And I'll tell you, even with the 40s and the 6.5 lift, because we bought one in 2019, and then we had that for 2 years, and then we upgraded in late 2021, maybe early 2022, and we kind of took what we did in that first rig, and we were like, okay, where do we want to do more? Like, where do we want to go in extra? And so the 40s and the 6.5, because we have the King shocks, honestly, does brilliantly on the highway. Because I was worried about that. Because my dad comes in. My dad's kind of a crazy person. He goes, "Don't you worry, Jem. I got the 40s, 6.5-inch lift. It's going to be great." I was like, "Dad, like, we have to drive this places. Like, this has to be able to go across the country. Like, we have to drive it." He's like, "Don't you worry. Don't you worry." And I got to say, with the King shocks, I am blown away with how, like, I was worried that I was like, am I going to like drive this long distances? Like, am I going to feel comfortable? It feels like you're driving a normal Jeep, to be honest. Like, I don't feel a major difference between that and like my personal Wrangler that I have that is not nearly as souped up and fun, and we don't take overlanding very often,
Nice.
It's beautiful, Arla. If you haven't seen their rig, you need to go check out their IG, some reels on it.
I will.
Something to salivate over, I'll tell you. And my dad just gets a big kick out of the train horn underneath too. His favorite thing to do is to convince our employees to peek under the Gladiator and just let it loose. Our international sales manager, love him to death, but he doesn't always think things all the way through. He went under there, like fully. He's like 6'7", and he went fully underneath and was like, couldn't get himself up fast enough.
Crack his head off.
He couldn't hear for a day.
Oh,
He was done. He couldn't take calls. He truly could not take calls. He could not
get workers' comp.
full day.
Is this like new employee orientation?
Something. Or just like my dad.
Sign a waiver.
Yeah.
I didn't think that HR needed to implement some sort of train horn hearing policy.
Yes.
Like some sort of supplemental train horn policy. But apparently next round of it, as we start hiring more people, we're going to have to get our HR to put that in the fine print.
Gosh, Dad, you're getting us in trouble, man. Calm down.
Always. He's like, oh, can't you just let me have my fun? I'm like, I can, but I want you to have your fun
But
to like 75%. We don't need 110. Can we go 75? And he goes, no. He's just
Never.
like, nope.
I'm not your guy for that. Nope. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Go all the way. All for
Exactly.
it. Yep. That's awesome.
Exactly.
I bet he's a lot of fun to work with as well.
He is like, and he's great because I will say that like he has really let me make my own mistakes. Like he really let me kind of do, like he gave me guidance and helped it, of course, like when I wanted it, when I needed it, but he really kind of like kicked me out of the nest and was like, it's yours. You're going to do the whole thing. So that way I feel like, I mean, the first year I learned so much and it made me very capable into running the business long term. There was no coddling, which I knew, like growing up in the Casa Grande like household growing up, I knew there wouldn't be much coddling in this either. But there really wasn't. And it was the best thing. And it's great. He loves his R&D lane. And if I make sure that I can keep him pointed in new product development and give him the team that he needs. Occasionally I walk into my engineering team's office and no one's there. And I text him like, are people working today? And they're at the boat. That happens sometimes, but most of the time I give him the team he needs and he runs with it and creates these brilliant products. And lets the rest of the team do what they need to do to keep the zeros and ones in place and keep customers happy and keep the business working. And it's a lot of fun. And it's great because we get to hang out all the time too, which is awesome because I had been out of the house since I was 17 and then I come back and now I get to see my dad every day. And so it's nice because you kind of are working with your best friend, which is cool.
So what you're saying is you're daddy's girl.
Oh, I didn't know this about me, but apparently I am. I don't know if he would identify me as such because he does say that I test him every day and I make his life hard every day. But apparently, I think in Weird Gen world, this is me being a daddy's girl as best as I can, despite I don't let him have as much fun as he would like.
Yeah. Got to keep it real. You are running a business, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Jen, we've really enjoyed our conversation tonight, and thank you so much for being on the show. And why don't you give a little shout out the IG channels, any social media where people can follow SeaSucker? I know you guys have different IG handles for different parts of the company. So
yeah, absolutely. So our camp IG is SeaSucker Camp. And then if you're looking for us in general on Facebook or TikTok or YouTube, we're just under SeaSucker, SeaSucker. If you find an octopus, you have come to the right place.
Perfect. Well, thank you again for being on the show tonight. We've had a really great time with you, and I can't wait to see you at the next expo.
Absolutely. And thank you guys both for inviting me and just like sharing stories. And again, just having a good time and dealing with me through the internet too. So I appreciate you ladies.
You recovered well, or your internet wasn't tired anymore.
We're fine.
Something.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye.